Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. I'm going to make this super quick. We're going to jump right into today's episode because it's such a good interview. Oh my gosh, the amount of times my jaw hit the floor was amazing. I can't wait for you to hear it. But first, I have to say a big shout out to my husband. Today is our 15th wedding anniversary, and he's my best friend. He's my teammate, my partner in life, my partner in business, my partner in every aspect. And I feel blessed beyond measure that he's in my life. So I just want to let you know that if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be here doing this podcast. He's my rock, and he supports me so much that I just want to basically say my little love message to him. Thank you, Duffy, for everything. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful I can be here helping all you guys, helping spread this information of health and healing. A body has an amazing ability to heal itself. We have a God-given ability to heal ourselves. And if you're sick and suffering, I'm here to tell you that there is a way. There is a way. And through all the information that I bring to you on my show, I hope that I can give you the answers that you're looking for. I was sick and suffering for many years, and my husband married me even though I was sick and suffering. And together we went down this rabbit hole after rabbit hole, discovering what true health is. And I now have shed all those diagnoses, all those diseases and illnesses and syndromes, and I'm still on my health healing journey, but I no longer have type 2 diabetes, chronic adrenal fatigue, chronic infections, infertility, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Like I am worlds better than I was. And my husband has also gone through major transformations as well, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, both of us. And I've learned so much from my own show. I'm just sitting in the audience with you guys, like, just munching on the popcorn going, what? I can't believe this. So although I consider myself a health expert because I've dedicated like tens of thousands of hours of research and diving in personally to helping myself heal, and then also over the course of the last over 10 years helping clients support their body's ability to heal themselves and helping them overcome major obstacles, major health obstacles. I have seen people heal and recover from things that they were told over and over again by medical doctors and the mainstream medical establishment that they have to be on drugs the rest of their life and they'll always be sick. And I'm here to tell you that most likely that is not the case, that we can support our body's ability to heal itself. And today's episode is one of those things. It's one of those things that's totally outside of the realm of mainstream. And yet there are plenty of studies and science to prove that we can use the Analemma structured water device to support our body's ability to heal itself. And we're going to get into that with Dr. Eric Laarakker right now. I want you to go to learntruehealth.com/structured water to check it out, read all the studies for yourself. And they're going to be publishing even more studies because they're ongoing studies. They're constantly coming out with them. And I'm super excited that Dr. Eric announced that they're partnering with Viome. I have 2 interviews with the Viome CEO and the top scientist. You can go to learntruehealth.com and search Viome to listen to those. It's all about the gene expressions of your microbiome, which is absolutely fascinating. But they're partnering with them to do some really interesting tests to show how drinking the Analemma water improves your gut microbiome. And it's all about the gut. Everything is about the gut. We heal the gut and get a strong, healthy, robust microbiome. Everything else is so much easier to fall into place. And if you don't have that, that is like one of the major pillars of health, right? So I'm very excited about that. So ongoing, lots of studies. So constantly check in on that. But go to learntruehealth.com/structured water and use coupon code LTH, as in Learn True Health, to get your discount, get your listener discount. And then come join the Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group, and join the conversation because we're talking about it. Some people say, I don't notice it. I don't taste a difference. And then people jump in and go, I definitely notice a difference. And it's okay. It's okay that some people can taste or feel a mouth difference when they're drinking this water and some people don't. some people just aren't like as necessarily as kinesthetically sensitive as others. But the real thing we're looking for is like the proof's in the pudding, right? Where the real thing we're looking for is the results. And so that's why I want you to come join the Facebook group if you're going to drink the Analemma water. And I'd love for you to share your experience. We got plenty of listeners sharing that they definitely feel a difference, just like I did, just like so many others in the studies that they've done. So thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you so much for sharing this podcast with those you care about. Together, we're turning this ripple into a tidal wave and helping as many people as possible to learn true health. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 508. I am so excited for today's guest. It's been months I've been waiting to have today's guest on the show. I'm gonna do my best to say your beautiful name, Dr. Eric Laarakker. Did I say it?
It's almost perfect.
Almost.
Almost perfect. Thank you.
I almost got it. You know, I got an app on my phone for my son who we homeschool. He's 8 years old and he wants to learn languages. And I thought maybe he'd learn, French or Spanish, and he wanted to learn Norwegian. And so so we're hearing these very different accents as he's been studying these languages that he's kind of popping through different languages that we're not used to hearing. But that reminded me, your last name reminded me of some of the words he's learning. So
you know, only 5 million people live in Norway. So why does he want to learn that language?
I don't know.
But
Maybe
anyway,
he's gonna
I'm not
move
from
there.
Norway. I'm from the Netherlands.
Oh yes, no, I'm sorry. I know you're from the Netherlands, and it's the beautiful sound of your name that reminded me of the interesting language my son is trying to learn right now. We tried explaining to him that it's a very small country, but he's stubborn, so he's becoming a linguist.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
He should be stubborn.
That's a gift, right? We try. It's hard on the parents, but it's really good when they grow up. And he's an independent thinker, which is great. One thing he's loved since we introduced it to our household has been the Analemma, the ability to structure our own water. And it's interesting to watch our 8-year-old really get excited about something when he starts to go, wow, this is interesting. I can feel the taste. I can feel the difference in the water. I can even taste the difference in the water. I can feel the difference in how I feel. We use the Analemma to structure all of our water since November. So it's been a good 9 months that 9-10 months, somewhere around there, that my family has been only drinking structured water. And there's been a lot of really cool changes that have taken place in our lives. And we notice that we jump out of bed in the morning, we sleep deeper, we feel happier. And one thing that helped me is our daughter passed away 2 years ago, and I was going through PTSD and grief. And when I introduced the water, and I've been doing a lot of stuff to heal, but when I started drinking the water, I noticed within days of beginning to drink the water that the constant low-grade sadness that was in my heart all the time, just the sadness in my chest, had been replaced with a constant joy, just this low-grade, just background noise, just feeling of happiness. And I haven't stopped drinking the water because I love this feeling.
That's so beautiful to hear. So beautiful to hear. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to have you here today to understand the science behind it, because we feel like it has transformed our lives subtly. It's subtle. And then I look back and realize how significant the change is, that we feel healthier in our body. And then, of course, we started putting it on our houseplants, and they started growing like we're in the jungle. And I thought, man, this is just proof. Like, look at our houseplants are doubling in size. And we've had them for years, and now they're doubling in size after we started feeding them the structured water. And of course, this is how I feel inside my body. Imagine now I'm kind of getting a visual of what's happening inside my body with my houseplants. So Eric, I'm really excited to have you here today to
Well, thank you
dive
so
in.
much. I love those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And listeners can go to learntruehealth.com/structured water, use coupon code LTH, get themselves a Analemma, a device that you place in your water and you stir, and it allows you very quickly to transform the water, to permanently structure it to coherent structured water. It's very interesting because it's like a science experiment. Every time my friends come over, I do it for them and I give them a glass that hasn't been stirred and a glass that has with the Analemma device, and I blind test. I'm like, which one? Which one's the stirred one? And they all cannot believe the difference. It
Yes,
definitely has a mouth feel. The water feels wetter. The water
yes,
feels like it's smoother, silkier, and wetter.
true.
How interesting. So I'm really excited to dive into the science today. Before we get into that, just a little bit, can you share a bit about your background? I know that you have extensive knowledge around holistic care, that you practice as a veterinarian, and this is right up your alley. You're just as passionate, maybe even more, probably more passionate about structured water and how we can use it to support the body's ability to heal itself and the planet's ability to heal itself. What happened in your background that led you to get so excited about this?
Well, it's a long story. To be honest, I finished my university already in 1993, so that's about 30 years ago. And actually, already on university, I had some issues with the Western way of looking at medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't treat symptoms, but we never treat the origin, the cause of the disease. And actually, a lot of problems that we face are chronic, and they have multiple causes and not just one cause. Like causes could be like food, environmental, congenital, emotional, your microbiome, toxins, etc. So I went into holistic medicine, and holistic medicine is about trying to find that cause of the problem and treat that problem. So if you go back to the root of the problem, heal that, and then actually the body will heal themselves. A body has an amazing capacity to heal itself. You just have to push the right button and the train will run by itself. That's how I usually try to explain it. And the issue is we don't really understand exactly how our body functions, how our internal communication system works. Our body, well, more and more has been looked at as a bioquantum computer. It's called quantum biology, finally. And to me, I look at it in that way. Your body is like a quantum computer. Well, if you manage to reset that computer, the body will heal itself. Well, actually, we as doctors, we don't heal a body. We try to reset the information system so it can heal itself. We are just nature's assistants. We don't heal anything. And if you combine everything in that's true holistic medicine to me. Like in my clinic, we treat horses, dogs, cats, and human beings with a whole staff of veterinarians and human doctors. Personally, I treat 50% of my patients are human and 50% horses. We use a lot of many different modalities to heal. I started actually my first acupuncture school for humans already way back in 1986, so that's a long time ago. And the reason was healing energy, trying to understand how our body functions has been an obsession for me since I was a little kid. I was growing up in a forest next to the river, and nature and water, actually they were always my biggest teachers. I spent all of my life almost in the forest and near the water, and really they were my teachers. They taught me a lot. And after my first acupuncture school, the holistic way of thinking that grabbed me so much that I traveled literally all over this planet to study all different modalities in holistic medicine, both in human and veterinarian, like homeopathy, herbal medicine, chiropractic, osteopathy, energy treatments, and everything. And then we started to combine all of them in our clinic, and it gave us completely new ways of treatment. And that's what we apply now in our clinic. And water and information, both of them, they play a key role in all those modalities. Actually, working with animals, that gave me the most knowledge. Animals are beautiful. You talk about your kids, how they sense what good for them is, what the difference in the water. It's the same with animals. And they don't have a placebo effect. If it works, especially in
Mm-hmm.
chronic diseases. Since I'm a veterinarian now for over 30 years, I saw many of my patients for a whole life. And that's usually a chance you don't get as a human doctor. So it can give you a lot of knowledge about how you can have a long and healthy life. That's why I still like working with animals. It's very pure. It's the same like working with kids. I also work a lot with kids. They're a lot purer. So if you push the right button, that's easier to cure them than most grown-ups, unfortunately.
And that's so true about the placebo effect. Children and animals do not have the placebo effect. And so when you see something working with babies, toddlers, with horses,
Exactly.
then it really gives us an insight. So you have a beautiful background. And what led you to work with Analemma, with the structured water, and study it?
Always water was, in my life. Water was talking to me. Water is very important. How can I say? If you look at the body, 99% of our body molecules is water. And we usually say 70%, but it's in mass. But actually 99% of your body molecules is water. If that is so, then water is the most important ingredient in your body. And about 17 years ago, I met my colleague Dolf Santingen. Actually, it was a quite funny story. I was giving a 6-day course on how to measure energies in and outside the body with a Laarakker antenna. That's how we measure our patients. And it's a system we developed over 30 years. I only can think in energy. I'm not in the physical part, if you know what I mean. Everything which is physical is also energy. And Dolf was one of my students, but only I saw him the first day. And later he told me that he was so allergic to horses that he couldn't join the classes anymore. And since my teachings were in my horse clinic, attending the classes was no option anymore. But Dolf was very eager to learn how to work with a Laarakker antenna, so I gave him private lessons after that. That's how we came to talk and shared ideas and our worries about this planet. And if you look at what's happening to this planet, I mean, in what fast speed everything goes down, especially the whole immune system of this planet, but also in humans and also in animals. 30 years ago, we didn't see almost no allergies, no autoimmune diseases, no cancer in horses, but we see it like daily these days. So something is happening over there. So we decided to join effort and start a laboratory to understand something more about actually what life is about. We don't understand what life is. Nobody knows what life is. So the last decade, actually, we have been working on this water. Both we know that we know that there was more between heaven and earth than science wants to make us to believe. Nobody knows what actually life is, but mankind acts as if it knows everything and that we are a coincidence on this planet. I personally don't believe that. Since we were very concerned at what pace the planet is moving to destruction, and like I said, having a chronic disease becomes a norm in life. It shouldn't be. So we decided, like I said, to just start a laboratory and see, just to do open science and hopefully find something which is easy to use to help to restore diseases and diseases and this planet. And even although I did a lot of modalities, almost all the modalities you can find in regular and holistic medicine, I still missed a thing. And that is what I call the life force, so to speak, the glue between all these different modalities. And that's how we came up into water.
Is water the life force? Can you explain that a bit more?
Maybe I can explain a little bit more how we got into water. And of course, water was always, like I said, very important in my life. But first, what we did, we digged into all the scientific possibilities which were available to study life, especially on energy levels in plants, soils, animals, and humans. And then we stumbled upon the work of the famous professor Fritz Popp from Germany, who proved that all living beings emit light, the so-called biophotons. The amount of biophotons says something about the health of that system. By that time, Fritz Bob ended his career, and we were able to take over the whole laboratory, including the scientists, and moved it from Germany to the Netherlands. We want to find out what were the most important parts of living systems and how we could influence it in a positive way. We didn't know actually what to look for. We just started more or less blindly to see where research would bring us. Soon we discovered that water and information was a crucial part in the biological systems. So then we started to focus on water.
Water, a lot of us think is just like a rock, like it's just inert. It's just it's like just a substance that isn't alive. And the modern day idea of water is that we should sterilize it, that it's dead, we should sterilize it, and that's the best way, or filter it, sterilize it, that's the best way to drink it, or manipulate it in some way that we have to remove chemicals from it, make sure that there's no bacteria in it. But there's no concept of that the structure of how the molecules exist inside the fluid can influence us. And people just think water is water, like dirt is dirt, not that important. A rock is a rock, it's not alive. And your experience is quite different.
Completely different. When we start doing the test, actually we bought a 6-acre greenhouse to do just test on tomatoes. We decided, okay, let's go for a little bit more easy and challenging test in the beginning than on humans and animals. So we bought a 6-acre greenhouse, and we were testing on all kind of vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, etc., and measure the biophotons. Of course, they have a very short life cycle, so it's easier to test. And just by changing the structure of the water, we saw a tremendous difference in the amount of biophotons. So the amount of light which is in a tomato, from 60% up to 150, 200% more light emission constantly over when we use the Analemma water. We all tried all kind of different waters. We try to do different things with it, and see what happens with it. But water actually was one of the most important things we could do, and the easy thing we could do to change the amount of biophotons in a plant. So if you have more biophotons, actually it means more mitochondrial activity, so you have a healthier plant. And when we were very sure about our outcome, then of course we start digging into other kind of research, because measuring biophotons on humans is not easy. So, and actually, and that's why we went into other kind of research, like the microbiome, brain waves, ATP, glycanage, etc. And every time when we did research, we saw there's a difference. For me, it is very easy. Now it's very easy. Of course, the issue is we only use our eyes, so only what we see is what we believe. But if you look at what we can see, it's just a few nanometers of the whole electromagnetic spectrum, and there's so much more that we don't see, and which are measurable. And water plays a key role in it. Water by itself is a broadband absorber for all the electromagnetic field. Only not if you count out the visible light and part of the UV, which water doesn't absorb that well. It's so genius, water. Think about a very simple thing. You learn at school that we live on this planet because we have an atmosphere around this planet. And this atmosphere absorbs about 70% of the incoming harmful radiation. Now, that's very smart of water. But if you look at the whole electromagnetic spectrum, maybe it becomes a little bit difficult, but if you go from the ultra low frequencies, radio waves, microwave, terahertz, infrared, visible light, UV, X-rays, cosmic gamma, so from low to high frequencies, from this whole scale, the only part what water doesn't absorb actually is the visible light and part of the UV, which are only two of the octaves of the whole spectrum. And it's so genius because if water would absorb also the visible light as much as X-rays and cosmic gamma, etc., then it would be dark on this planet.
That is
So that's very clever of
fascinating.
water. All these things are just in front of us, and actually you can find them on Wikipedia, but we don't think about it. So water is a broadband absorber for almost all the electromagnetic frequencies. And well, we are electromagnetic beings. We are. It's very simple. There's a beautiful book written, The Electromagnetic Man, already been written, I think, 20, 30 years ago, which beautiful scientifically explains that we are electromagnetic beings. And so our water, now we go back to the body, if you would push all the vapor, which is in the atmosphere, push it together into a liquid form, it's only 3 centimeters of water. Only 3 centimeters. Think about it. Now go back to your body. 99% of your body molecules is water. So you are, per definition, a broadband absorber for all the electromagnetic frequencies.
Boom. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Oh my gosh. Think about the cell towers, the like all the electromagnetic just static out there, the frequencies being I'm surrounded right now by wires and electronics, and thinking about all the different like you said, broadband, all the different signals and frequencies and like all across that spectrum. And if we're
It has an
99%
influence.
water, we're clearly highly affected by this entire spectrum of frequencies.
We are. And that's a big issue to me, to be honest. And you know, science defined the harm done by EMFs by how much your body has been heating up. I mean, it's just a definition they give. And they forget the whole perspective that we are a broadband absorber for all the electromagnetic waves. Maybe I can tell you a funny story I did last year. I was in Corsica with my kids and my wife. And in the south, you have this beautiful place over there, which is on top of a mountain, more or less. And in the harbor, you park your car. So we went up to that village. And we could hardly see somewhere down there where my car was parked. And I showed them one thing. I used my automatic key for the car. When I pushed, like for open the car, you didn't see anything. Then I hold it against my head. I pushed it, and then you saw our car opening. So your head is full with water is an antenna. We are antennas.
I learned that from my husband. Like when the car is on the other side of the parking lot and we can't find it, he puts the car key, the key fob, to his chin, which is,
Exactly.
his head. He puts it right to his head.
Yeah.
And he says we act as an antenna. But I
Exactly.
never and it always works. It always works. He can hit like the alarm button because we can't find the car. I mean, that almost never happens. We know where we
Yeah.
park our car, but if it's we get turned around or we're like IKEA parking lot, have no idea where we are. You can hit that button and then we hear our car alarm way off in the distance, really far away. But if you just stood there and clicked it, nothing would happen. But when you put it against your head, you are the antenna now.
Exactly.
And it always works.
So it also works the other way around.
Because water is that absorber, the broadband
Water,
absorber.
yes.
So we are 99% of us by molecule is water. We are highly we are absorbing that entire spectrum. But how beautiful and brilliant and intelligent it is that there's this huge spectrum that we can't see. We're kind of in the middle, right? There's like all this
Yeah.
stuff we can't see that's lower than our vision, all this stuff we can't see that's higher than our vision. We're sort of somewhere in the middle in terms of our
Yes.
very small bandwidth of light that we can perceive through our eyes. And water absorbs everything on the other side, on each side, but not in our own vision. That is brilliant. I mean, I love looking at science to see that there's God, to see that there's intelligence, that there's this beautiful intelligence behind the scenes.
There must
And
be.
the more I look at science, the more I see it's irrefutable. This is not random. This is so beautiful.
There wouldn't be life. Life wouldn't be possible on this planet. if water would absorb everything. This is as simple as that.
Amazing.
And what I personally don't understand, I mean, the science is in front of us. You can find it everywhere. And people still, misuse it. I don't understand why we do any research on this whole 5G satellite stuff, etc., etc. It's almost like a microwave we're sending to this planet.
Mm-hmm.
It's complete destruction. And luckily, well, to be honest, we proved already that our water is quite stable in it. So that's the lucky part of it. But still, I'm concerned about the trees and everything around us. We're just bombarding everything with loads and loads of wrong information. We are electromagnetical beings, and we're used to a certain amount, which has been there for ages. But in the last, especially 20 years, we're bombarding ourselves constantly with a lot of information. That's one of the reasons why I always tell people, okay, it's very hard not to deal with it, but at least what you can do, always switch your Wi-Fi off at night. You'll sleep a lot better if you do.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody I know uses their phone, as an alarm clock. Why? In our house, our mobile phones, also not with our children, are allowed in the bedroom. Never ever put your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth on, only if you need it. Both of my kids and my wife, when I put the Bluetooth on, they feel it immediately in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is if you're confronted with so much radiation, then more or less you get used to it. But it doesn't mean that's not harmful. I always compare it with smoking. If you smoke one cigarette, you become sick. But if you keep on smoking a package a day, you won't feel it at the end anymore. But it's still harmful. So people who tell me, well, I don't feel it, well, it doesn't mean that it's not harmful. And we created a lot with all the devices in your home. Everything is these days is on Wi-Fi, smart. Everything is smart, smartwatch, everything. Actually, not in my house. I don't want to have it.
Smart.
Yeah.
I always sleep better when the power goes out. When we have a storm and the power goes out, oh,
Yeah.
I sleep so well. Or go camping and I sleep
Exactly.
so well. The other day, our son was over at grandma's for a sleepover, and I had to have my phone on just in case, emergency happened. I didn't want, we have to stay in contact, and I got such poor sleep, not because I was worried about him, but just because my phone was on, and I tried to keep it as far away from me as possible. It was still in the room, and I don't know if I could feel it. I don't like that.
Sure.
I definitely don't like it. I've done a few interviews on EMF, but one of them's really interesting. Episode 4. I mean, all of them are interesting, but this one, episode 445, with Arthur Fistenberg. He wrote The
Yes.
Invisible Rainbow.
Yes.
And that's a good, now coming with the knowledge you've given us, listeners, if you haven't already, go back and listen to episode 445 with this knowledge that you're 99% by molecule water. It is a broadband absorber. And then go listen to his interview. And his book's phenomenal because it talks about, he shows that every single major health like pandemic that has occurred in the last over 100 years has been directly related to when a technology gets introduced. And he
True.
shows it all. It's really, really interesting. But here you have more proof. We are made up of a broadband absorber, and now we're introducing these frequencies into our atmosphere, into our bodies, and look what happens. It's haywire. It's causing the whole system to go haywire. So you started. Let's go back to the tomatoes. You wanted to measure the biophotons from plants, and using structured water, see how that could help. Could you go back a little bit before that? What made you guys decide that water needed to be structured in the first place?
Well, very simple. Like I said, 99% of our body molecules is water, so water must be important. So, and I always had this feeling, like water was talking to me. So I already, before we even did this research, I was digging into water structuring devices. And there are many over there. There's a lot to find information over Victor Schauberger. He's one of my heroes. He did a lot of research on it in the beginning of the 1900s already. And if you look at how when water is vortexing, what the energy, how it gives. If you walk in the mountains when the water comes down with a waterfall and it starts vortexing, it gives you a completely different kind of energy. So we already knew there is something there about water. So we started to test all kind of different devices which were on the market. And they gave some results. It's not that they don't give any results, but they had one big problem, and it is they were not stable. After it depends on how you shield it. After being produced, it works like for half a minute up to 1.5 days. Depends on how we shield it with aluminium foil or stuff like that. But then it went down, so we knew it was not good enough. And all of those devices actually they are made out of crystals, vortexes, electricity, etc. And so we knew this was not good enough. We had to dig deeper into it. And so actually what we did, we first did a whole study for years on different geometric forms, metals and cosmology, before we were able to combine all of it in one device. It's not like this device was there from one to the other day. We did research at it and we saw an amazing improvement already on those biophotons. But then we discovered that we needed more and that lightning played a role. Try one thing. I mean, after lightning, go to a lake and see how it feels. It is like the water's been charged over there. So we needed to add lightning to it. But then still it went better. The biophoton emission became better. But then we realized we need something more, and then I go back a little bit to the discussion before. We need to get it open to the cosmos, because we need information out of the cosmos. We are constantly bombarded from out of the cosmos with all kind of electromagnetic frequencies, with everything out of there, from all the planets, the moon, the sun, etc. Why do you charge your energy in the sun? Because actually you're charging your water system. So then we created a third device, and to make it more open to the cosmos. And then we realized another thing is that biology is never ever the same, and that's a big mistake that we make in medicine anyway. We always think that everything is the same. Nobody is the same, luckily. And even your liver, your kidneys, we found out there is a rhythm in energy. So even the frequencies of your liver, for your kidney, everything in your body is actually changing every day. And so then we realized that if we want to make the mother water, it would take us a year. So it takes us a year to make the mother water, because we want to have all the seasons in. And that's actually the reason why we call it Analemma water. Look at the internet what the Analemma is, and you see that's the infinity sign. It's the position of the sun to the moon, and that's very important. So if you want to have all the frequencies in, all seasons in, we need 1 year to create it. And then we knew, okay, now it's ready. And actually from that moment on, we start putting it on the market. But it took actually the whole research until where we are now is about 17 years.
Oh, wow.
And because we were not doing this research trying to find a device and sell it for a lot of money or whatever. We were trying to find something which helped, and we want to be sure scientifically that it does what we think what it does. So we heavily invested last year. Constantly we're heavily investing in research, double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized research in ATP. We did in a microbiome, brainwave studies, etc. It's constantly going on, and we are doing research.
I want to talk about the research for sure. I'd like to know when you first started drinking the structured water after you created the mother. And for those who haven't listened to the first episode, we did episode 498 about the Analemma water. Inside this device, and they call it a wand. It's not, you're not performing magic. It's not, but it just is the shape of a wand that you would stir the water, and inside it is the mother water. And the mother water, like you said, takes you a year to make, and that it connects with, and you can explain this much better than I can, but it connects with your water, and tells the water inside the glass to structure in a way that is coherent and beautiful, not chaotic, like the structure of our water that comes out of our pipes, comes out of our municipal, water system. And we did dive more into that in episode 498. But I'd like to go back when you first made the mother water and you first started making structured water with it and you first started drinking it. What was your experience?
I will never forget, because actually at that moment we were doing research in the south of Germany, in an organic farm, and the device, our first device, is huge. It's like 1 by 1 by 1 meter, and very heavy. So we brought the whole device over there, and it was very exciting for us. We need the right pressure and stuff like that. So when the first water came out, we drink it, and it was, for me, it was like we knew this is it. It was like, how can I say, for me it was like an explosion of light in my body. I never had it after that, I must say. It was like, yes, how can I say, it was like a very instant change, and also because we were excited and we want to know and to test it and to drink it and feel what it is. I will never forget this moment. We were drinking it, we looked at each other, and we were like instantly happy.
That's
Let's
it.
put it that way.
That's me too. I have to tell you, I was really, really, really skeptical. I was so, so, so skeptical. But it was introduced to me. It was offered, like, look, just try it. Just try it. I was like, okay. And I remember I was standing at the kitchen, and I got out 2 glasses. I filled them both with our filtered water, but it's municipal water, so it's been through all the pipes and through the system, and the chaos is known. If you just imagine in your mind how many pipes and 90-degree angles and near power lines, and just like how bastardized how abused the water is, fluoride, chlorine, trace pharmaceuticals, just the way they scrub it, all this stuff it's not natural, right? Obviously, so the water's been very abused. And now that we understand, water absorbs information, it absorbs energy. And so it's just taken a beating, but before it comes out of your tap. And then I put it through a little plastic filter that filters the crap that they put in, fluoride, chlorine, that kind of stuff. And I put the water into 2 glasses, and I stood there and I counted, and I stirred for about a minute, and I brought the glass to my lips, and I took a sip, and I said, "No way!" I said it out loud, really loud. And a big smile came across my face. I said, "I cannot believe it." And then I took another sip. I said, "No way. This is absolutely," and it just hit me. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of freaking out. I was called over my son, called over my husband. "You got to try this. You got to try this. I can't believe it." And I was, from that moment, a believer. But I was so skeptical, but I was willing at least to try it, but I was so skeptical. And some people say they don't taste a difference. Some people say they definitely taste a difference. But there's a feeling in your mouth of it's how water should feel. And it's kind of like, do you remember as a kid that carrots were sweet and tomatoes
Yes.
were like an entire meal. You could just eat it. You could eat it. You take a whole tomato and cut it up, put a little bit of salt and pepper on it, and that was like fulfilling. It was so rich and it was so
True.
delicious. And now carrots and tomatoes taste like cardboard. They just don't have the energy, the minerals, the nutrition, the vibrance. Food is dead, and water is dead. Like the way we've treated it, it feels dead to us. It's not nourishing us, and disease is prominent. And when I first drank that structured water, it was like my cells woke up, and I remembered this is what it's supposed to be like. It feels very natural. Now, structured water does occur in nature, but not everywhere. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes, I can. The issue is, to be honest, that there are not many places left anymore where the water is coherent. And I must say, the whole idea of coherency is a theory. Nobody knows exactly what's happening over there. And maybe first I can explain a little bit more how I look at it, what means coherence, to understand it a little bit better. If you would have the most powerful microscope and you would look at the water and you would see the molecules of normal chaotic water, you would see that they at randomly bump against each other, so they're not in sync. And what I think what we managed, is that all the molecules start working together. They're in sync, moving in sync, and they start behaving like a crystal. So if you would have the strongest microscope, probably you would see the most beautiful crystals. And crystals are very important, very important. And that's also the reason, maybe we can talk later a little bit about it, why we use quartz glass as the outside of the wand. Crystals can receive, store, and give information. Think about the first crystal radios. They were there to receive information.
Mm-hmm.
So if you manage to structure the water, and like I said, it's a theory, and nobody saw how it really looks like, then you would see that you would see these beautiful minerals, and they are constantly in tune, like the first crystal radios, with the cosmos, and that's very important. That's how they receive the pure information what we need. The funny thing is that most people who drink water become more conscious. So on a conscious part, it's very important to drink that water. And we see that constantly when people start drinking the water, they stop, destroying this planet by themselves, because you become aware that you are just a part of everything. Me is you, you are me, and I mean everything is us. And we're not divided from each other. And by drinking that water, it makes it clear that you're part of one big whole.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I look at it. These beautiful crystalline forms. You can compare it a little bit. I love to compare it with a laser light, although it's not completely the same, but just for the comparison to understand a little bit more. If you would have a 5-watt lamp, it's just giving a little bit light, and it's not coherent light. If you would make this 5-watt coherent, that means that you let the waves of this electromagnetic frequency work together. Then those photons, when they start working together, you get a laser light, and a 5-watt laser is a very strong laser, I'll tell you that. So in the same way, I look at that water. And so it's very important for all the systems, when you give that water, it starts flourishing. It's a lot more energy into it. Like I said, in the biophotons in those plants, you talk about these tasteful carrots and tomatoes. Well, start using Analemma water and you get them back, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And now go back to your question. Sorry for my diversion. But is that in the past, we didn't have so much, like you said, energy lines, Wi-Fi's, 4G, 5G, whatever, everything is over there.
Mm-hmm.
And water is also reacting on our thoughts. Look at the last couple of years where we are. Everybody's afraid of everything, from COVID to CO2 to whatever. We just live in fear. And that doesn't help water. In the past, people lived near natural streams. And they were, moving from, they were what we call meanderen. They go from left to the right. They make a left vortex, a right vortex, a left vortex, a right vortex. That's no coincidence, and it's not what people say is because they search their way. Nonsense. Why there's always a left turn and then a right turn and then a left turn and then a right turn? That's energizing themselves. So water comes pure out of a well, and then it keeps on energizing themselves, and that is the issue. That's not happening anymore. Just few people maybe are lucky enough to live, close near the most perfect well. We tested water from all over this planet, and most of it was not stable. That's why making the water stable was so important for us. Otherwise, you can use your wand once or twice, and then you can throw it away because it doesn't work anymore. And we tested water in the laboratory, which was standing there for over a year near the Wi-Fi router, and we tested it on tomatoes, and they gave the same amount of biophotons. So the stability is very important, and there are not many places to find over here. And we tested from the Ganga water till whatever. Even I took water from the South Pole when I was there, from Greenland, etc. And it's not stable, so it very easily falls back into the chaotic state. So if you're lucky, and you live near a beautiful pure well, of course, that's you're a lucky person. But how many people on this planet live in that opportunity? In my country, nobody. So that's why, unfortunately, we didn't find a lot of structured water on this planet anymore. But in the
And that
past,
makes so much sense.
yeah, but in the past it wasn't necessary because nature did it by themselves. But we destroyed so many things in the nature. Like you said, we have straight lines, we have canals, and the water doesn't like to go in curves of 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Water doesn't want to flow in a straight way, and that's what we do with water.
We force it to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my mentors, who's also a veterinarian, Dr. Joel Wallach, he's also a naturopathic physician and a research scientist, and he's in his 80s now. He's still active, amazing man. He discovered that we're largely minerally deficient. We require 60 essential minerals, and the way that they farm the last 100 years, they just pillage the land. They tear off the first layer, and then they till the water, or they till the soil, sorry. And then and the way they farm, it's destroying the minerals in the land. And so now we also know now, between using the way that we channel water on, straight lines and 90-degree angles around farmlands also isn't very helpful, although we need to give our plants water, but it's not structured. And then we use pesticides, herbicides, all kinds of chemicals. It's ridiculous. A conventionally grown apple in the United States has 50 different chemicals found on its peel. Just by peeling the peel away doesn't remove them, because the whole tree is absorbing these chemicals as well. So it's inside the apple. But just to give you an idea, and that's just one apple, and eating organic is definitely necessary this day and age. I used to have chronic monthly infections for which I was on constant antibiotics for. This is 15 years ago. And when I switched to eating organic, my very first month, my chronic infections went away. So that told me how important it is to avoid as much as possible what they're spraying in the farms. But what Dr. Wallach said, he goes, look at where our minerals are going. And he goes, it's not just us, it's the planet. Because if you look, and he uses the United States as an example, but many other countries do this. All of our major rivers are dammed for energy, which, I mean, that's clean energy. That's great. But look, he goes, what we're doing is we're stopping water, we're stopping the minerals, the trace minerals that are supposed to naturally go into the ocean and feed the ocean. We're stopping the silt from reaching the ocean. And he looked in the science behind it and everything, and he saw that the man has influenced almost every major river in the world, and that those rivers feed the ocean. And we've been doing that for a while, right? So between that and what you've talked about, how water is a broadband absorber, and we have frequencies either from ourselves, which, fear, you can actually measure fear as a frequency coming out of our own body.
True.
And then we've got cell towers, you name it. And so water's just here absorbing it all and being coerced into a state that makes it so that our water system around the world cannot restructure itself naturally. So that's one thing. I had Igor Smirnov on my show back years ago in episode 161 because I was interested in his research around structured water and cancer. And he talked about in that episode that now and he was looking into how to structure water, but he didn't figure out what you guys figured out, because his structured water device doesn't keep the water structured. It doesn't keep it structured after a few days. Like it doesn't hold the structure like yours does. But what he talked about, which was fascinating, is that those from Chernobyl they were sent to different hospitals with radiation sickness and poisoning. And there was one hospital up in the mountains, and they had a well, and the well was structured water, and they didn't know it at the time. But everyone who drank it got better and didn't have cancer. And then they finally figured out, like, why did everyone have such good results in this one hospital but not in the others? And they figured out it was because everyone was drinking structured water. So there's a aspect of structured water that helps the body remove radiation, remove free radicals. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yes. Well, then I have to first enter one very important topic in that, and that is the microbiome. Because I tell my students, the way I look at the body is that we are a heap of bacteria in a pool of water run by the cosmos, a colony of bacteria in a pool of water run by the cosmos. And everything is 100% true. And don't forget the microbiome, because it's told you story about the antibiotics. And one other thing that we do with all the pesticides, etc., the biggest issue is on the microbiome. As you maybe know, Parkinson's disease has been proved that come from the pesticides. And most brain diseases now have been related to the microbiome in your gut. A healthy gut has over 1,200 different species of bacteria in your gut. In your bladder, you have 60 species, 600 plus species in your lungs. On your skin, 1,000 species. And they recently found even, I think, over different genes of the microbiome in your brain. We are a colony of bacteria in a pool of water run by the cosmos. Those little creatures are so important, so important. And even our mitochondria, who produce ATP, which is our energy. And as you maybe probably noted that all the chronic diseases, cancer, etc., has to do with retarding of mitochondria. Now, it has been proved that mitochondria actually were bacteria before. So even inside of every cell, you have 500 to 2, 3, 4, 5,000 bacteria. We are a bacteria colony. So, and also these bacteria colonies can be harmed by radiation, by toxins, etc. And the funniest thing is if you look at it, like for horses, vitamin B12 is not essential. Why not? Because they make it themselves, if they have a good microbiome. Cats need taurine, and we don't, because we can make it ourselves. So the microbiome is a very intelligent thing. There is something which is called biologic transmutation, and what it means that actually bacteria are capable of making from turning one material in another mineral. So go from one mineral to another mineral. Think about chickens. They don't eat as much calcium as they lay every day with their eggs. They return silicates, they eat silicates, and they make calcium out of it.
Really?
Yes. So this is called biological transmutation, and under our soil, in our soil, that's where all the good bacteria are that we need. That's why we need contact with the soil. You need to dig with your hands in the soil. Kids have to play outside and not behind a computer to get in touch with the soil, because that feeds them with the right bacteria if you have good soil. Mm-hmm. And so he's completely right that by using all the toxins we put on the soil with farming, etc., it kills the bacteria. And for me, that's even a bigger problem than the minerals, because first it starts with the bacteria, and then the minerals go down. All of it is true, but for me, the minerals are on the second place, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I'm hearing that.
If your microbiome is beautiful and perfect and it does its job, you need less minerals because they do a lot of job for you. That's what we found out in our clinic. And water plays a key role in the microbiome. We did a double-blind placebo-controlled research with people, and we found by drinking the water that the bioindex of the microbiome went up dramatically. So your microbiome, they love the water. The good bacteria, they love the water, and that's crucial. So it's not only, we talked about the information side, what the Analemma water could do. That on the information part, we already talked about, that you have a lot better information system in your body, what you need. But on the microbiome part, it's very important. And we literally could prove that your microbiome becomes better from drinking the right water. And in that way, your microbiome will produce a lot of more nourishment for your body.
I did 2 interviews with a lab called Viome.
Yes.
And they test over 100,000 gene expressions of your microbiome. You send them a stool sample. It's a home test kit. You send them a stool sample, and they send you back just pages and pages of data. But really interesting, I didn't know this, and it opened my mind to this whole world that I know that we need good bacteria in our gut, right? Like we have about 6 pounds of bacteria, between 4 and 6 pounds. So it's like a little chihuahua basically living inside us. And we can have an overgrowth of fungus, an overgrowth of candida. We can be out of balance, right? A lot of people are. And we all know that they've done studies on those who are naturally skinny. They can eat whatever they want, and they're kind of like just naturally skinny, and their microbiome is diverse. And those who are obese, no matter what they do, their microbiome is not diverse, right? Is unhealthy. And they've done fecal transplants where they take the microbiome of skinny people, put it into overweight people, and the overweight people lose weight. So True. we see this, like you said, we were seeing in Parkinson's. There's a lot of different illnesses where we're seeing that there's we have to look at the microbiome. But what I learned in those interviews about the Viome is that we eat food, and we think we do all the digesting and all the absorbing, but the microbiome actually will eat our food and poop out nutrients for us to absorb. So we have inside our gut a pharmacy. And I had started to get heart palpitations, and I'd gone to a cardiologist, and he said I was fine. And I was like, what's going on? And I noticed that my heart palpitations were correlated with when I ate eggs. But I didn't have an egg allergy. I got tested. It wasn't an allergy. I didn't have histamine problems, but I could eat an egg, and within minutes I would having heart palpitations. And the cardiologist, who wasn't a big help, because he said, basically, come back when you're so sick I can give you drugs. You're too healthy. But he did say the heart will have palpitations because it's intelligent, and there's something that's irritating it. There's something that's inflaming it. And it's trying to reset itself. So it's not having heart palpitations because it's weak. It's having heart palpitations because it's strong and intelligent. And I was surprised to hear that coming out of a cardiologist's mouth. But how interesting. And then I had this interview, and she was one of the chief scientists there, and she looked at my Viome results, and I didn't tell her about my heart palpitations, but she said, oh, this particular bacteria which is actually really good for people. It does a lot of good stuff. But one thing it does is it will convert the nutrients from eggs into, and then she explained stuff that went over my head, but she said it converts it into something that causes irritation on the heart and can cause, cardiovascular problems. And so I mean I cut out eggs right there. That was that was it. That was done with eggs. But how interesting that our microbiome digests our food, helps us with nutrients, or can harm us because we've taken a bunch of antibiotics and we have an overgrowth, and we all know that we can have dysbiosis and not so healthy gut bacteria. But we want to get to a place where we have very healthy, robust, and diverse microbiome in the gut. And you're saying that there's a correlation between that and creating that and drinking structured water.
Yes.
You did some tests. Can you explain them?
Yes, we did a double-blind placebo-controlled test with people, and asked them to deliver the stool. And after 3 months, did the same thing. And actually, we want to test now also with this Viome company, do the same test again, but with a lot more people. And we found out that the dysbiose index it actually improved for 30% in 3 months. And so the diversity of the microbiome was a lot higher, and the harmful ones went down, which is very important. And there is something you think of, and this is the nervus vagus, which is very important to mention in this whole area, because our brain is directly connected to your gut. You have the nervus vagus, and it passes the heart. It touches your actually your throat, your heart, your stomach, and then it goes to your intestines. And there's a two-way communication. So when you're craving for sugar, actually these are the bacteria in your gut that tell your brain that you should eat sugar. So probably in your case, that you got your heart palpitation was because of the feedback from the bacteria to your heart, if you know what I mean. That's why it goes so fast. It's one of the most beautiful nerves which is there. And I call it the nerve of the alignment. When that is literally, when you're aligned, that nerve works, in a two-way up and down very well. But go back to the research. So we literally could prove by drinking structured water that you improve your microbiome a lot. Like I said, over 30% of the microbiome index. And that's a lot in 3 months' time.
Yeah, that's huge. So for those who are having digestive problems, I mean, have you collected data for those who have digestive problems and then drink the water every day, and then they report back to you that their digestion is improving?
Yes. And many people report back that it's improving. Actually, it did it for me. Before I drink the water, I had a lot more like bloating problems. After dinner, you have this bloating of your stomach, and it all went down after drinking the water after 2-3 months. So many people report that back, and we see, of course, in animals, we see also the same. Especially with horses, they have a lot of problems with the appendix, and after drinking the water, you see a lot less problems with that. So of course, it's not the only thing, but all those bacteria, and also we proved it in a soil, because what we did on soil which was damaged completely with Roundup. We did a trial, and one got normal water, and the other one, they got the Analemma water. And the good thing is, after a couple of months, the amount of variation of bacteria in the soil with Analemma water went up. So it's not only in your gut, but also in the soil. That's why it's very important to get this water back into the rivers, back into on the soil. And actually, personally, I think that is the main reason why tomatoes, cucumbers, etc. give a higher photon emission, is because you get more beautiful bacteria which you want, the right microbiome back in the soil, and also everything is the same also with vegetables. Those plants are being fed with from the microbiome in the soil. They need a microbiome. That's one reason why I never want to eat plants which have been grown on aquaponics, because you need the microbiome of the soil. That
Yes.
makes the plant healthy, that gives them the taste, that is giving them the nutrients.
Yep.
So it's all the same. It's the same cycle in human beings, in the soil, in rivers, in the sea, everywhere. It's the same story. And the microbiome is crucial in that. Information is crucial in that. And water is the key player in that, because water is in the middle of all of them. So that's why we stepped into water, because it's the most important ingredient. It's the most important ingredient in life. It's in the middle of those three.
If we were to look under a microscope and observe water that comes out of our taps and observe the coherent structured analemma water, what would it, could you describe what it looks like?
Well, first of all, those microscopes doesn't exist, and it is a hypothesis. So
Electron microscope, maybe?
no, that what I think, but it's a hypothesis. Probably what you would see. Well, that's the main reason why we test the water in biological systems and not in physical chemical point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Because most research what had been done was on a biochemical, physical point of view, but it doesn't say it's healthy. And we want to prove the benefits of it. What I think is that we managed to structure the chaotic water in structured water. So the chaotic water, so probably would see that in chaotic water that all the H2O molecules will move at randomly and bump constantly against each other. And probably you would see some strange clusters in it, which is the information of the toxins in it. You can take the toxins out of your water, but still the information of the toxins stays inside. That's why it's very important, even after the most beautiful cleaning with reverse osmosis, whatever you want, that still you need to make the water alive again. And so the information will stay. So probably you will see clusters of different toxins still over there. And in coherent water, you will probably see that all the H2O molecules work together and thus form a crystalline structure. Like I said before, you can compare it with the first crystal radios. A crystal can receive, store, and send information. I personally think that we managed to create water with the most optimum crystalline form, or probably crystalline forms, that can receive, send the harmonic optimum information for your health and for your consciousness. So what you would see under the perfect microscope, probably you would see the most beautiful crystalline form or many crystalline forms, all with their own specific functions in just one glass of water. That's what I think.
And you guys use a quartz, a tube.
Yes.
You put the mother water in it, and you made a tube, and then there's a little holder at the end, like metal holder at the end, and that's what we use to stir the water. I fill up my mason jar. I have a glass mason jar, about 32 ounces of it, for about 4 cups, and I sit there and I'll just stir it for 1 to 2 minutes, and I'll watch, and about a minute in, the water, you can visually see it change. Something shifts, the viscosity changes, and I can see
True.
the viscosity shift, and it's almost like it's almost like oil. It stirs differently. And now, because I do it every day, I fill up about six to eight mason jars at a time, and then I'll sit down and just stir about 1 to 2 minutes. But I'll sit there and I don't even use the clock anymore or count anymore, because I guess I'm very in tune. I feel, and as I'm stirring, I feel the resistance change, and I feel it's it's hard to explain, but I feel a lightness, I feel a charge, I feel my hand feels it, and I go, okay, this one's done. And sure enough, I go and I taste. I could do a taste test, because sometimes we'll stir like just a few times, be like, oh, we're on a rush, we're running out the door, and I'll just stir a few times, and it's nope, that wasn't enough. It's definitely, I could definitely feel it in my mouth, I can taste it, but I can also feel it in my hand as I'm stirring. The resistance changes. It's like a flips a switch. It's kind of like making butter. If you've ever churned butter,
Mhm.
you're just like churning and churning and churning and churning, and then boom, it happens. There's like a some kind of chemical. Well, I know the enema is causing like a chemical reaction, but in butter, it's causing something to shift, and it goes from the buttermilk to butter, and that's sort of the same feeling. It happens in an instant as I'm stirring. It just all of a sudden shifts, and the water changes, and it's so interesting. But I like I said, I refuse to drink any water that's not structured. So I've been drinking all my water structured, and now you guys have a device that you can hook up to the house that makes all the water in the house come out of all the taps in the house structured, so people can actually bathe in it. And I'm really intrigued to know about the latest studies because we've touched on it a little bit in episode 498, but the studies really hadn't come out yet. And I think that there's some preliminary information that you could share with us.
Yes. To be honest, I really recommend to bathe in it. And if you don't have the whole house analemma, you can swirl your bath. You know, like you said, when it's ready. And it's not like, okay, for a glass you need for half a minute, so you have to swirl for half an hour. It's not true. Actually, for me, it's my belly. Probably my microbiome knows when it's ready. Then I
That's so
feel,
cool.
it's like the energy starts flowing. And um, we were surprised actually how much beautiful results we had. There is a spa now in the US where people come and just lay down in the Analemma water, and they have a tremendous positive results with it on the cardiac output, stroke volume, and the blood viscosity. People are measured by doctors, and now about 100 people are under research, and we have beautiful results with it. And what is the reason for that? One is probably that your skin has a huge uptake of water, but personally, I think there's something else going on also, and maybe more important. We talked before that water can make disharmonic tones in sound and in electromagnetic harmonic. What Analemma water does, especially, that will tune your energy field from a disharmonic into a harmonic communication system. So personally, I have the idea that bathing in Analemma water even works better than only drinking it. So I really would recommend it. There's people now, more and more people use it for the swimming pool, and we have tremendous. They claim tremendous results with it. And like I said, there are now 100 people on the research, and almost all of them have a beautiful difference on the cardiac output, stroke volume, and blood viscosity.
So, for those who don't know what that means, what would you feel? How different would you feel if you had those results? If you had more viscous blood and cardiac output, what what would that feel like? Are you calmer? Are you happier? Or like
More
you're
I bathe in it myself, and actually I shower with it every day, because I have, of course, this whole system in my house. Um, I feel energized,
hmm
better connected, less stress. To be honest, it's like I need to do it. I'm hooked on it before I go to sleep. I do it twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. I know it's not good on spoiling of water, but uh, uh, we have a lot of quite well, a lot of my patients actually are not in a good shape, and we work with acupuncture, all kind of healing stuff, etc., etc. And all those patients, they drain me a lot. When I take my shower, everything is over.
Mm.
It reloads, like I said, it reconnects again, and all the negative energies, whatever, which are on my body, they disappear, and I just feel recharged again.
And your showers before you installed the Analemma house unit, they didn't have that effect?
Uh, yes, it had also a certain amount of effect, but there's a huge difference. I mean, showering by itself is cleaning your energy field. It's not only about, getting your sweat from your body and stuff like that, but for me, it's always, all of my life, I love showering. If there's a waterfall, I like to stand under it, especially
Yeah.
because it loads yourself. The sea, I mean, all the negative ions which are there, they reload you. But I don't have the sea and near my house, and I don't have a waterfall near my house. So I have to do it with a shower. And for me, it's a big difference. I can feel it now. I just was for 3 weeks in Sweden and Norway, and I didn't like to take a shower over there in the houses where I was. And when I came back home, the first thing what I did is take a shower, and it's a complete different feel.
Interesting. Have you guys done any observations around heart rate variability and bathing in Analemma water or drinking Analemma water?
Actually, to be honest, we didn't do any research in that, but I'm quite sure there's something what we want to do. But on the other hand, doing research in that is, well, we did a lot of research on brainwave activity.
Yeah, tell us
And
about that.
so we saw a huge difference in that by drinking the water. Like we did, for example, a test on a twin, and one got Analemma water, one got the other water, a normal water. And with the twin who drank the normal water, we didn't see any changes. In the one who drank the Analemma water, you saw a lot more coherence in the brain, far more relaxed. The brain waves start working a lot together. I'm not a specialist in brain waves, but the results were tremendous in that way. And then we changed it around, and we saw then with the other person. And after that, we did a lot of tests with a lot of people, and especially you see almost the changes immediately on the stress levels, and the in the alpha state and the beta state. You see a lot of changes in there almost immediately after drinking the water.
Phenomenal. Do you think structured water protects us from different types of radiation, like what we're exposed to? We keep going back to 5G, but cell towers, the cell phone, the computers, just be the Wi-Fi, being constantly surrounded by electronics. Does structured water act as a way to suppress the effects of
Yes,
all the electromagnetics?
yes, because the water is stable. Like I said, we did tests on plants with 1 year old water, which was standing next to the Wi-Fi router. We found it by coincidence, and it gave the same results. And actually, in the middle of testing it now, there's one other thing which EMFs does, and it is destroying the microbiome. And we also proved that the microbiome diversity went up after drinking the water. So in 2 ways, it helps protects against EMFs. I cannot say anything about 5G because it's not, on this planet long enough. We're actually in the middle of testing it, but I don't see any reason why that would be different. And that is to go back to the showering and laying in the bath. All this negative information is turned into positive information. So I'm quite sure that it's very beneficial. And actually we tested that on the microbiome and in studies before by feeding that water to the plants. And people it's not that you don't feel it, maybe you even feel it better. If I look to my own wife and my own kids, they're very sensitive to radiation, but it's very smart, if you know what I mean. Because
Right.
the body tells you this is not good. You should worry if you don't feel it anymore.
Yeah, becoming habituated to something that's bad for you, like alcohol, cigarettes, sugar, that just means you're feeling low grade sickness all the time, but you're used to it.
Exactly.
And we want people to rage against illness, to stand up and say this is wrong, to just reject it, reject illness, reject this sick mentality that well, I'll give you an example. 70% of adult Americans are on at least one prescription medication. This is how sick we are. But we've bought into the sickness mentality because we've been sold. We've been sold on that this is normal. And
Exactly.
being sick is not normal. We need to reject this model that we've been sold is normal. You know, was where, like you said, with horses, where was cancer in horses 100 years ago? Where was all the allergies? You know, horses having
Not if
allergies
you
a
don't
hundred
even have
years
to
ago.
go. You don't even have to go far so back. When I in '93, when I finished university, I became a horse vet. Uh, Most horses I saw were crippled, or some had maybe some skin diseases, but not so many. And now the biggest issue is the gastrointestinal issues, autoimmune diseases, immune diseases. In 20, 30 years, it changed completely. Even cancer now is a big thing with horses. We didn't see that 30 years ago.
And look at humans.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of children that have illnesses is
I think now
crazy.
in our country, 43% of 20-year-old already have a chronic sickness.
Oh my gosh.
And this is evolutionary, this is nonsense. So if it is that case, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. If evolution was the model we were looking at, we would be getting healthier and healthier, not sicker and
Exactly.
sicker, right? No,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's something wrong with our air, food, water, soil. There's something very wrong with with our entire environment. And we have to stop accepting that this is normal because it's not.
I
And
fully agree.
I was talking to a client yesterday about this, warning them about a few things, and they said, "How do you not have constant anxiety thinking about how there's so much out there killing us?" And I said, where I focus is I focus on the safe waters. I'm imagining that you're in a boat and there's rocks underneath the water all around us, and I want to tell you where the rocks are so you can avoid them, but don't focus on the rocks, focus on the safe water so you can steer safely and keep traveling through the safe waters. But we have to know where the rocks are. And we can't accept, like, oh, well, this is just how it is. I'm just going to crash up onto the rocks because that's just how it is. And that's what we do. We take we take our bodies to the wrong doctor most of the time, and they just want to give you drug after drug. We go to the grocery store and we buy food that's covered in poison and lacks the healthy microbiome because what they're spraying is killing the bacteria that we're supposed to be eating, right? We surround ourselves with electronics that are harming us. We're drinking water that is polluted and chaotic, and then we wonder why we're so sick, right? So we want to make sure that everything that's in our environment and coming into us is clean and for our best good.
That's why it's so important to drink the right water, because the body has an amazing capacity to heal itself. And never forget that we don't need to do a lot. You just have to push the right button, and water is the key player in all of that, because that's a communicator. So if you want to change one thing, if you only want to change one thing, of course you have to change all of it. It's 100% true. But if I had to choose for one, I would choose for water.
Yeah. Well, because like you said, we're 99% of our molecules is water. That just makes sense. Now, there's a lot of talk about hydrogen water and, pH water, like having alkaline water, and there's all kinds of waters out there people talk about. When we use the Analemma to structure our water, does it do anything different to the hydrogen in the water? Does it do anything? Could you explain? Is there, from a
No,
science standpoint, is there
no,
anything
no,
different?
no. It doesn't change the pH, and it doesn't change the hydrogen in the water. These are two different things, and so I don't have anything against hydrogen water. And some people use the wand after they create their own hydrogen water, and or before, some people before and after. That's a good idea. And but I don't want to drink hydrogen water all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to drink alkaline water all the time. Alkaline
No.
water can be okay for, to recover after sickness or whatever, but it's not like using for constantly drinking that water. Actually, the most devices who create alkaline water destructure the water because it's done with electrodes.
Oh, interesting. So even though people,
I see it as medicine, if you know what I mean.
yes, right. You wouldn't take one medicine and give to everyone all the time.
No,
You use it when it's needed, but they should if they're using like a Kungen machine or something, they should follow up with the analemma to structure the water after they've changed the pH because the Kungen is destructuring the water.
exactly,
Interesting.
exactly.
So my husband and I, we try to be as healthy as possible. We try to make the healthiest food choices possible, and we often will juice a few times a week. Like for breakfast or lunch, we'll have a big glass of vegetable juice that I'll make in the juicer. And my favorite is beet, carrot, celery, beet greens, a little bit of ginger. That's usually what I put in. Oh, and cabbage. And my husband came up with the idea to then after I've juiced, because we drink it really fast, like we try to drink it within 20 minutes to 30 minutes of making it, because that's where everything's still alive. And he decided to structure the juice after we'd made it.
He's a
And
wise man.
that, I mean, well, he really follows into his intuition. He also had the intuition to take the analemma, and he used medical tape, and he strapped it to his chest, his sternum, and he really felt it. And I talked to Mario about that, and he said, "Well, we're gonna come up with some jewelry that people so they can wear the analemma, so
Yes.
it's right by your heart, structuring all the blood." And that is just brilliant. But I started doing that. I started holding the wand up to my heart, and I really felt it, and it just feels so good. Spending a few minutes just holding it there. But what we did was so my husband decided he would stir it, and then I don't know if he told me, but he handed me the juice, and it was an explosion in my mouth. It was like I'd never drank juice before. It was a completely different experience. So for anyone listening who likes juicing, you need to try it. You need to structure the juice afterwards. Just spend, a good 1 to 2 minutes stirring it and then drink it. And it's a very different experience. It's as if it was completely alive, like I just got it out of the garden.
True. That's what we do.
You do that too?
Yeah, yes, for sure. I mean, it restructures almost everything. I mean, even for the people who like to drink a beer or a glass of wine once in a while, you can use the one for that. And
Oh
it's
my
not an
goodness.
excuse to drink more, I must say, but the taste is going to be different.
Well, I don't drink a lot of coffee, but when I do drink a glass, or a mug of coffee, I will use structured water to make it, and it is a different experience. It
It
definitely
is.
changes the
Yeah.
flavor. All my tea, I structure it first before I make tea, and it really changes the difference. And my husband said the other day, he goes, we should open up a chain of restaurants with the Analemma water, and everyone's going to freak out because the food is going to taste so good, because all the food will be made with the Analemma water, and all the water we serve will be Analemma water, and people will just, and I was like, "You're brilliant. This is genius." I think you're onto something.
Well, I'll be the first one to come to join in your restaurant for sure.
I love it. I really want to make sure that before we finish today's interview, that you share what is most important to understand in terms of the science, the discovery, like especially for the people who are skeptical like I was, right? This isn't woo woo. This isn't a new age woo woo device. Like there is so many results that you've used the scientific method. You can clearly see across the board like you said, there's no placebo effect. It helps animals, and you've used the Analemma water with animals. Could
Yes.
could you just leave us with what is the most important thing that we need to understand about the science around this?
Actually, one of the most important things for me are the results on the microbiome and on the brain waves and on the ATP.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a double-blind controlled research on ATP, on ATP in blood levels. And in 3 months' time, we saw an increase of 23% of ATP in the blood.
That is wild. So for those who don't know, ATP is cellular energy made by the mitochondria. If you don't have ATP, you're dead. It's the one difference I could
Yes,
say between people who are alive and people who are, 6 feet under is producing ATP. So it's like you're 23% more alive after 3 months of drinking the Analemma water.
almost all the chronic diseases,
Mm.
mitochondria, they play a key role.
Mm-hmm.
In aging, mitochondria play a key role. So for me, that was one of the most impressive research that we did, even more than we thought it would happen.
Did you do telomere measurements, or are you going to do that?
Um, Actually, we now have a talk. Actually, the next one probably is going to be in the Viome test.
Mm-hmm.
We did, of course, the glycanage study, and there's a lot going on, in how important telomeres are. The science is a little bit changing, so, and it's not easy to do research on.
Yeah.
And of course, we have to pay all the research ourselves. So we're actually now in the middle of making our choices where to do research in.
So let's talk about Analemma and the future using structured water to help humanity, help the planet. What are you most excited about that you've got kind of in the hopper coming up in the future?
I will share you my wildest dream.
Okay.
Our goal for the future actually is to make all the waters on this planet coherent. It would help
Mm-hmm.
this planet and all living things on this planet to become healthy and more conscious. Imagine what would happen if all the seas, lakes, rivers, all the drinking waters would be coherent. The microbiome of this whole planet would revive, and this would help to clean up all the toxins in the water and soils of this planet.
Mm-hmm.
It would help tremendous in making this planet and all living healthy again. We would become the conscious, healthy humans that we should be. And that's one of the effects of this water that we touched upon, is that it raises the consciousness of the one who is drinking it. And for me, it's very simple. A higher consciousness would never destroy this beautiful planet and would do everything to bring beauty and harmony to this planet.
Mm-hmm.
That is for me one of the most beautiful side effects of the Analemma water. I can tell you uh, one more research, what we did, which proved it more or less. And that's been actually a test we did already years ago. With biophotons, we were measuring on seeds. Some seeds got normal water, other seeds they got Analemma water, and we were measuring the biophotons over a long period, over days. And the funny thing is, the water with the seeds who got Analemma water, there was like a sinusoid going on. There was a harmonic rhythm. And with the normal water, we didn't see that. And we didn't know what it was. And then we found out that actually the seeds who got Analemma water were reacting exactly on the moon cycle.
Oh, wow.
So that means they are in tune. The biggest issue, as I see it, that we have on this planet is that we think we are kind of coincidence over here and that we're the master of this planet and the master of the universe. Well, we're nothing. If we would come in tune again with the cosmos, with God, whatever you want to call it, with the quantum field, then we would stop by ourselves to destroy this planet and do everything to bring beauty to this planet. Actually, that is our wildest dream.
There's no separation between us
No,
and each other and between us and this earth. That's what we
no.
have to, like, we think that we're, like you said, we think we're like separate, right? We're like, people think that there's somehow separate from what they put in their mouth. They can go to McDonald's and that they're like, somehow they're just eating for pleasure, but they're putting poison into every cell of their body, right? But we think we're separate. We think that there's a difference between us and the earth, and our behavior as a species has made it so that the earth is mirroring how sick we are, how angry we are, how disconnected we are. And this isn't political. And that's one thing that I always want to leave people with, is that I'm not saying this isn't talking about climate change, right? Because that's so political. This is talking about we can all agree that pollution is bad for us. Remember back in the 80s, acid rain, like where did that go? But what they're spraying, the man-made pollution is bad for us. Let's not even talk about carbon, like, because people are like, there's too much carbon. Well, there's some science showing that there's too little carbon. It's kind of
Yes.
ridiculous. The problem is we're looking, the mainstream media has us looking in the wrong place because they're like puppeteers. They're like, look over here, and they distract us. Look over here. Don't look at the fact that we're spraying your air, your water, you're putting chemicals in your water, putting chemicals in your food. We're feeding you artificial food, a bioengineered, genetically modified food, and we're eating for every, it was something like for every 278 Cheerios, you're eating one Cheerio the size, like the volume of glyphosate. So like, would you sit there and put a straw to a bottle of Roundup? But that's what we're doing. This is killing us. It's killing all of nature. Luckily, we still haven't gone past the point of bifurcation, right? We can turn this around, but each of us has to, instead of feeling guilty or shameful about this, we have to go, I love my body, I love my planet, I love the universe, I love the cosmos, I love God. Like, I love it so much, I'm going to take care of myself and take care of this planet. We have to use our wallet to influence, right? So you vote with your fork, vote with your dollar, and invest in and get active, get vocal, invest in companies that are here to protect us and help the planet. So organic companies. I love the Analemma Structured Water device. Listeners can go to learntruehealth.com/structured water. Definitely use coupon code LTH, and thank you for that. It's already incredibly affordable, which we talked about in episode 498, how it's very affordable. And that's wonderful for you guys, because I know that you guys could be charging 5 times as much or more, and you're not, because you're making it accessible. Make sure that we find the companies that want to help us and help the planet and help our food and help our soil, just help all of us be as healthy as possible. I believe in that consumerism can be harmful, but we can use conscious consumerism to be helpful. That's why I think we can turn this around, that as individuals together we can turn this around. Not wait for a government. Stop waiting for some government to do something. We need to, as individuals, rise up and make sure that our choices are in alignment with helping our health and the future of our planet and the planet right now. Because if we structured all the water in the earth, just imagine how quickly we could start turning things around. It's beautiful. But we all need to make sure that we're making those choices that don't support the companies that are hurting us. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I wish I could have you on for like 4 more hours talking about all this. I know it's really late at night for you right now, so I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. And I would love to have you back on the show as more studies come out. It would be so brilliant to continue to share this information. You've shared so much already. Is there anything that you want to leave us with?
Thank you very much that you want to have me in the show. Let's put it that way. And I fully agree. Let's not go into fear, because I think I see these times where we're in. These are one of the hardest times maybe ever for humanity, but it's a big chance. It's a chance to wake up. And, sometimes you need chaos before you get a new order. And luckily our water can bring order in chaos. But there are many other things also over there. And to be honest, I was more and more, my gut tells me, we are heading to a beautiful world. And so don't go into that fear, because it's not helping. That's where they want to have us, because if we are in fear or in anger, it doesn't matter. You're not in your alignment. And we should be, as soon as you are aligned, you bring beauty. And this is a energy nobody can stop. And think about that. Just keep aligned, then things will change.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Laarakker.
Perfect.
It was such a pleasure having you on the show, and I can't wait to have you back. And listeners can go to learntruehealth.com/structured water, use coupon code LTH, try it for yourself. Come join the Facebook group, the Learn True Health Facebook group, and lots of people talking about the Analemma and the structured water and sharing their results and their experience. We'd love to have you come join the group and join the conversation. Eric, can't wait to have you back on the show. Thank you so much.
I will. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.